Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from the depths of the dungeon and the heart of the world, the master of minis, the king of the board, the one who's got gaming fans begging for more. It's Tabletop Junkie, the legend, the name, bringing dice to the fight, gonna change the game. Tabletop Junkie's here to set it straight, making gaming great in 2025. Don't wait, roll the dice, fight the fight, don't hesitate. Junkie's bringing the hobby back, it's time to elevate. Yo, step into the ring, the battle begins. Tabletop Junkie's here, let the war pass spin. With a DM's mind and a fighter's stance, he's calling out the rope, breaking the trance. Got a 20 in his pocket, rolls crits for days, flipping the script on the mainstream ways. A paladin of passion, defending the lore, while the haters retreat to the safe space store. It's about the story, the friends, the quest, not agendas or drama, let's play our best. He's uniting the tables from coast to coast. 2025 is his year to boast. Tabletop Junkie's here to set it straight, making gaming great in 2025. Don't wait, roll the dice, fight the fight, don't hesitate. Junkie's bringing the hobby back, it's time to elevate. He's got warriors, rogues, wizards in his crew, fighting for the hobby, making dreams come true. Against the trolls and the gatekeepers alike, he's the light in the dark, the spark in the night, rewriting the rules but keeping the roots, slaying the cynics, looting the boots. From the taverns to the dragons, the dungeons to plains, he's a bard with a mic, spitting fire through veins. Hands up, roll initiative, the battle is on. Tabletop Junkie leads the charge till the haters are gone. Crits on the woke, crits on the hate. 2025's the year that gaming is great. Tabletop Junkie's here to set it straight, making gaming great in 2025. Don't wait, roll the dice, fight the fight, don't hesitate. Junkie's bringing the hobby back, it's time to elevate. The dice have been rolled, the tables are set. Tabletop Junkie's here, you won't forget. So gather your crew, grab your minis and map, because this legend's turning gaming into a global rap. The dice have been rolled, the tables are set. Tabletop Junkie's the hero you won't forget. So gather your crew, grab your minis and map, because this legend's turning gaming into a global rap. The dice have been rolled, these a name we'll chant, a chant beyond for the hobby, the world's combatant.
Greetings and salutations.
Hello everybody, we just started and Chris has finally came back. It took us a few minutes. Sorry everybody for being a little bit late. We're about 7 minutes late, but that's because we've had some issues with OBS. OBS did not like the multi-stream. Or maybe I was doing something wrong. I need to get a little bit more adept. But heck, if I do this, I plan on doing multiple streaming on platforms anyway in 2025. That's why I'm trying to get my Rumble set up. X is already ready to go. My Twitch is already ready to go. I just got to finish up Rumble and, catch Rumble up on everyone on Rumble on what that we do here. But tonight, folks, we are going to become unleashed and unchained and unbroken because Tabletop Junkie has... I'm still remaining, a small part of me is still remaining quiet, but we are not doing that any longer. It is time to harumph. I didn't hear the harumph out of you. Whatever. Well, you'll get there, Witch King. We'll get there. So a lot of things are going on in 2025, but before we do that, I'm going to actually introduce my panel. And my panel, you have your host truly, Tabletop Junkie. Above me there is Sparta Chris.
Hey, folks.
And then we got Big Dog Jake.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Table, for inviting me on. Hi, guys. My name is Big Dog Jake, BIGGDOGGJAKE. I am a professional, though occasional, VOA. I am a political analyst and writer for hire. I love video games, and I love metal music, and I will talk to anyone about them. And specifically, I would like to say that I am thankful and proud to be here on this somewhat inaugural, although episode 2, episode of Tabletop Junkie Unleashed, ringing in the new year. And you know what, like Table said, remaining silent no longer, deciding
Yeah.
to put our voices out there, making our voices heard, and offering some counter opinions and narratives to some of the junk you guys might be hearing.
Yes, absolutely. There's a lot of talk. You know what I wish I had? A picture of John Hurt.
A picture of John Hurt. Okay.
Yes. Now, ask me why
Specifically from what? Be from
Doc-
Doctor?
Doctor Who.
Mm.
Remember, John Hurt played the War Doctor.
He did. It was a Matt
because-
Smith, David Tennant, John Hurt episode, correct?
Yeah. Yes. So the War Doctor was the doctor that decided that no more will he remain outside the Time War, and that he will put an end to it and an end to Gallifrey and the Daleks.
Like that.
Remember before he before that he was trying to stay out of the Time War, try to help out other people, try to remain silent, try to remain neutral, try to not get in the way of things, but that didn't quite work out for him, did it?
Well, that was more of Paul McGann's Eighth Doctor that was trying to stay out of it, and it was when what we see in the mini episode Night of the Doctor that he finally just says, "Okay, I'm going to war now," and that's when he becomes the War Doctor.
I was trying to make a reference to my neutral lines where I just got told I have to pick a side, and now I'm no longer must remain silent. So here we go. But can you let me have this?
No, I
or
can't.
you have to get specifically. You need a hobby, sir. You need a hobby.
I do. It's called bugging you.
Yeah.
Oh, he stole my line. I literally was about to say that.
All right, let's begin talking. Now, this is not going to be really a debate, but we need. I feel like we need to bring this in from intellectual perspective. You know, we on this panel are going to have issues. I already know that. We went through sort of a pseudo panel last night where we were kind of going through somebody else's stream, watching it, but while reading this document that we have here today with us today, and that we kind of had our own opinions. But I would like us to try and remain calm and intellectuals regarding this whole situation.
Of course.
Or this whole article. Just only for the simple fact, we're not here to debate it, because I think we all agree. So therefore, that would kind of, I don't want to use the word biased. I don't want to be anyone to feel like we're biased against them, because we're not. We have like-minded personalities on this panel, and unfortunately, I also did not want to try and drag people, drag other people into this that either love it or hate it, and then have a huge fight. What's up?
You drag me into everything.
Yeah, well, there's reasons for that.
Well, Chris, you follow him around with your leash in your hand, holding it out to him. When he grabs it and drags you around, you can't be upset about it.
Fans begging for more.
No, actually, he literally does drag me into this kind of stuff. He just says, "You're coming with me." I'm like, okay, whatever.
Man, I should send you the DM he sent me. It was a really cordial invite. If you can. If you feel you can.
Oh yeah, I will admit, I sent Chris and I said, "You're coming. This is happening." All right, so we're kind of going to do a bit of a read along. I want to take this. I'm going to read the very first paragraph. I'm going to read the first paragraph of this so-called document. Now, this document, gentlemen, is regarding anti-colonial play.
Indeed.
So we're going to go through this. Now, before I do that, I would like to point out that I've already read this entire book already. And this does not fit here at all. You know what? If you wanted to write something like this, this is from Forge of the Foes by the Lazy DM. If you wanted to write something like this, he could have did his own supplement where we talk about play and stuff like that. I feel like he took a mechanical book where it shows you how to design monsters, how to use monsters, how you can deeply expand on monster storylines. I do not understand where this comes from. For all that, it's like you get all this stuff about monsters, and then game mastering tips of creating monsters, a few other things regarding monsters, and then suddenly, bam, anti-colonial play. Let's talk about this. And it's like, do I get a notification of a conversation change here? No. It just kind of goes in rough and dry. Take that joke however you may. Real quick before we go,
I can do well.
before we go, let's go through the chat here. We got Esoteric, the Esoteric Order of Nerdity, Hail Witch King, and we've also got Mrs. Tabletop. And I hear that Jake's new wife, congratulations, sir, is also in the chat, as well as the Ultra American TTRPGer. Welcome, everybody. We are going to go through this, and we're gonna talk about it. So let's go.
Yes, we
I'm
are.
gonna read the first part of it, and we're gonna see where this goes. And any family tree tracing out the evolution of modern fantasy role-playing games, the apex of that hierarchy isn't a role-playing game at all. Tabletop miniature wargaming was the forebar of fantasy role-playing in its earliest forms. In fact, the primal edition of Dungeons and Dragons game made the explicit assumption that new players were already wargamers, able to automatically understand the lexicon and context of those games. I'm gonna stop right there. That is not true. I've actually seen D&D 1 first edition. I've been with players of D&D first edition. I don't get where they get this wargaming. You believe it or not, the wargaming part wasn't until like the 5th or 6th supplement that came out in the 80s, I believe it was. Anyone else would like to add to that?
Yeah. Well, I would just like to concur with what you're saying, Table.
Okay.
That
All
I mean, yes, the family lineage of tabletop role-playing games largely comes out of tabletop wargaming simulators, but I feel enough time has passed and they have both matured on their own separate branches of the family tree that to call them similar nowadays is a bit of a stretch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Chris?
No, I have nothing to add to that.
Okay, all right.
I mean, this is coming from someone who doesn't know that as much as you do when it comes to tabletop. I'm still very much absorbing things through osmosis.
But I would like to point out that here we do not discriminate here on Tabletop Junkie Games, that we do accept everybody for who you are. Just please, let's not push all beliefs on everybody.
Absolutely.
All right. That was heavily invested in wargaming. It was even called Fantastic Medieval Wargame.
Oh, OD&D from 1974.
Right,
original.
I'm talking like the first edition though. Like I don't see where the wargaming part came in, because like I said, there was a book about it. It was a gazetteer. And it was from the realm of Mystara, one of the earliest things. And the only reason why I know this is because OD&D was first.
And this is one of the reasons why I love speaking with you specifically about tabletop stuff, Table.
Right.
Because you know the history, like in detail about.
Oh, not
this
really.
stuff.
I didn't know that.
Well,
I didn't know that.
At the
OD&D
very
was
least, at the very least, you know much more than I do regarding the history, and I find it fascinating.
Well, I mean, I think the whole wargaming aspect was, I don't know. I still kind of don't. He's actually reading what I am telling him. Yeah, no crap, Witch King. Maybe you should be in here too, but.
I mean, I can read what you're saying, Witch King, if that is your desire.
Right. OD&D. I mean, the only, like, I was reading some of the first what was it, modules of D&D first edition. I've read them with Ironcaster, and like I said, there was a wargaming aspect to it, but it didn't come out until after a few books in. I mean, it was kind of set up a little bit differently, but I mean, it was like the first edition. I just wouldn't go as far out and say that D&D first edition was nothing but a war game, because nowadays what a war game is like Warhammer 40K. There's a story, yes, but that's not what it's about when you're building your army. I mean, you do get into the story, but there's no role-playing aspect into it, and it becomes a competitive play.
Right.
I got a bit of a cold, so my voice won't. Oh, okay, fair enough. Well, you got to get better, Witch King, because we got game on Friday.
Yes.
So
dance for us, Witch King, dance.
I mean, We'll leave. You know what? For this right here, we'll leave that sentence alone and let it go for now. Let's continue. All right. Some 50 years later, D&D and other 5e fantasy games would be all but unrecognizable to the players of the game in its first war game adjacent incarnation. I don't think so, because I've seen a lot of people from OD&D actually recognize 5e. But despite that, the DNA of all the additions that led to 5e still lingers in the game's rules and its world view. And that worldview holds a starkly colonialist view of the relationships between the game's heroes and too many of the other sapient peoples, humanoids, and other creatures with intelligent awareness, language, and culture who often play the part of the game's foes. The ongoing legacy of colonialism is the foundation of a great deal of what's wrong with the world, and the book like this is clearly not the venue to try and fix what's wrong with the world, or maybe what's wrong with gaming, because you kind of... I'll continue in a minute.
I'm just gonna say is let's put a pin in that statement.
Right. I like it. He made a book about monsters, but then said everyone attacking monsters is weird. Or it's a problem.
Yeah.
It's
creatures that were put into... I apologize for interrupting, Taylor. Go ahead.
All right. So, however, as gamers, we should, and must think about how our experience of real world feeds into the worlds we create together. We need to understand the ways in which the traditions of colonialism hardwired into common culture and media can easily make us embrace potentially hurtful ideas even without it meaning to. I want to ask everyone a question right now, because I've got 2 players, one in chat, one on here. Have I ever promoted any hurtful things in my games?
Oh, yes, completely. No, you have not.
Okay, all right.
And having not partaken in any matches that you in any games that you have DM'd or run,
right.
But speaking to you about them and getting into like the creation of the modules that you're putting together and the games that you're putting together that you're running for people, I do not get even a whiff of that from you, Tim.
Okay, fair enough. Actually, you've been out of the game for a little bit, long time, but I did finish campaign 1. We are just now rolling the players through it, so I get on a bit of a vacation from writing for a little bit. I'm actually putting together campaign 2, which we'll probably play sometime in 2026.
I would love to read through that sometime.
Table will be going through extreme withdrawal within a week.
So, I do want to answer this question here. The Ultra American TTRPGer says, how can you be hurt by fictional things? You know what? I definitely want to draw that line right now. I don't understand how we are taking fictional work and saying it's feeding, like, the real world events are feeding into our fiction. I mean, I know there's things and events from today that does inspire some things that we can kind of go through. Like, for instance, I believe in all sentient species has a capability to the capacity for good and evil, regardless of what they were originally designed for. They have the ability to transcend and evolve. However, that doesn't mean I'm a bad person. It's just, the thing is, orcs are essentially bad in my universe. They've been trying to take over the continent of Aberdeen for years. They are hell-bent on continental overtake, but their population is so small they were forced into the mountains. And before they actually lost the war against the humans of Aberdeen, mind you, the humans of Aberdeen was a barbarian tribe of men and women that was ran by a female, and she was the queen of these tribes, and she was uniting them under that. But they were still outnumbered, and the orcs still wanted to eradicate them
out.
Now, granted, did the tribes want to wipe them out? Yes, until King Byron, King Byron came from a distant land, because he too was fleeing tyranny from the east over to a western continent, and basically said, we will help you. And they joined forces, and they didn't want to wipe them out. They just wanted to say, this is our land, you go over there. Is that bad?
I don't think so. If I may, I have two things I'd like to say. One, piggybacking off of you.
Yeah, go ahead.
And that is, excuse me. I feel that focusing in on the word of how did you exactly phrase it? Did you say necessarily evil? Am I correct? Regarding certain characters like goblins, you said they are necessarily evil.
Actually, no one used the
for
word necessary.
reasons.
Right. I don't think I used the word necessary. That's the problem.
What was the word you used?
What was? I'm trying to think. I just lost it.
Essentially.
Yeah, they're essentially,
Okay.
Like every species has the product for good and evil.
Mhm.
That doesn't mean they're all good and all evil. I mean,
Right.
I'm telling you the story of the origins
Mhm.
of the continent of Aberdeen, which is where the first set of adventures of the Chronicles of Paramore takes place, because that's all I've basically developed. And I'm almost got the picture done to show you guys the map, but I haven't finished it yet because there's still more to the story. I'm not,
Okay.
and this is the first age of my world. Now the world went to a primordial age, but which lasted for thousands of years. But this world is only at most around 10,000 years old. So this is still a very young world that hasn't developed. Right now, there is still tyranny out there. There are gods of tyranny. There are people that worship tyranny. But there is an actual central evil in my world. Yes. Now, is that
so?
But see, it's not just orcs; it's humans too. Because
I understand that, but I wanted to not attack something. I wanted to build off of your point and focus in on the word essential.
Yeah,
and
go ahead.
This is not just specifically for the modules that you are putting together, but for any tabletop role-playing modules, that there are characters, whether they be goblins, gnolls, trolls, etc., that are dictionary definitionally essentially evil, i.e. that their whole purpose is or are to be creatures that are evil, so that the character, typically and stereotypically lower level characters, can chew through and gain XP and get loot and not have a moral quandary or feel bad necessarily about doing so. Now, people can have opinions one way or the other about what I just stated and whether they think that's a good thing or that's a bad thing or that's a neutral thing. But I do believe it's an important aspect of role-playing games generally to have a race or a faction or a group or a phenotype of creatures that are essentially evil, i.e. that is their biggest and main trait. Now, a second thing I wanted to say is, and this is just to steelman a potentially different position for the sake of argument and flourishing conversation, and that is something that the writer wrote in the book that we are reading from, which is please excuse me, which is there the capacity for fictional events to cause real world harm? And I believe it was the Ultra American TTRPGer who also brought that up. How can you be hurt by fictional things? Now, just to steelman the position for a moment, and this isn't even a tabletop example, if I may, I am someone who, and I'm not going to get too personal about things, but I am someone who has experienced things in my life. And to an extent, those things affect me to this day. Now, there are instances where I could be watching a piece of media, for example, where a scene is happening, and within that scene, an event is transpiring. It is entirely fictional. They are actors playing fictional characters. The story isn't real. The events aren't real. However, depending on what the content is, it can distress me at times. However, would I refer to that as harm? I don't necessarily think so, because I think, for example, for this example, that harm implies an intent. Secondly, do I feel that as grown men and women playing, in this case, tabletop role-playing games, that if something happens to transpire in the game that you are playing, if you, like me in the example I gave, feel distressed or upset by something that has happened, is it reasonable for this hypothetical person, being an adult, to think that the person running the game or one of the other players who committed this act potentially is purposefully attempting to cause this person distress and harm? I don't think so. I think that is a very, very weak argument to build off of that this person is doing thus far in this writing.
I think that's
Well, I mean, it comes back to that whole mentality of that we originally grew up on, which is sticks and stones may break your bones, but words can only hurt you, or won't ever hurt you, which is the mentality of physical things can hurt you, but words, ideas, stuff like that can only hurt you if you give it power over you.
I concur, and that is why I felt it was important to make the distinction between a fictional event transpiring that might distress you versus causing you actual harm, and also giving it the qualifier of, I do believe in these instances there would have to be intent to cause harm for it to actually potentially lead to harm. I don't necessarily wholly agree with that position. I was steelmanning for the sake of argument and discussion, but yes. I did want to put that out there as a counter.
I want to raise 2 points, both of them from the Ultra American TTRPG. All the TTRPG stories revolve around good versus evil, but the DM is the ultimate decider of what is good or evil in the game. That is
I
true.
concur.
Books are just manuals. This is just... Is this a suggestion? Yes, but it is kind of coming off, as I would say, a little bit more of you need to think before you act type of thing, which is, I feel like my mom's talking to me when I'm reading this thing, or Mrs. Tabletop, depending how you guys want to look at that.
Well, I mean, that's why I said earlier about when the writer of the article or book or whatever is saying, what was it, like something along the lines of, I don't want to, this isn't to try and tell people how to play the game or anything like that. That's what I said. Put a pin in that.
Right. No, it says that this is the wrong place to fix the world's problems as well as games.
Okay. Well, again, like I said, put a pin in that, and because
will do. My second point. Go ahead.
There's more to come. I was just saying, just put a pin in that because there is more to come with this whole thing. My second point I'd like to raise, also from the American TTRPGer, because he is active in the chat. Love that guy. He's out here supporting me. While I do understand the point and offer my condolences, one of the expectations now in tabletop is that the GMs are supposed to now also be therapists when we're just supposed to be running a game. My point, I'm going to answer that. He is correct on that statement. Are we supposed to be therapists? No. We're not therapists. A therapist takes about 4 to 6 years, because they actually no longer than that, 8 to 10 years, because a therapist has to have, if I'm not mistaken, a doctorate, which is an 8-year, and that's before they go off to training. I think training is 2 to 4 years. That's why I said 8 to 10 years before you can even run a practice.
A psychiatrist has to have a doctorate. A psychologist needs to have a master. And the problem nowadays, I feel, in this specifically, is that therapists basically just need to undergo training. They want you to have a bachelor's in psychology, but it might not be necessary. However, I would like to reiterate to the Ultra American TTRPGer that I was just giving a Steelman example. That is not necessarily how I feel. But again, that was the point of me bringing that up and trying to create a Steelman argument Socratically, so that we can have a back and forth like this. And I appreciate your condolences, although they are unnecessary. And thank you.
All right. Well, let's get to the next part here real quick, because
I kind of had to laugh. I kind of had to laugh at that part about TTRPG gamers. They're not the dungeon master or the castle keeper in your condition Table or whatever is not a therapist. That just kind of made me think back to the video we watched last night.
Exactly. Which was also, I'd like to promote him right now, Jack what do they call him? Jack Chronicler of the Northlands, who is British, and I agree with a lot of his points on a lot of streams that he does, especially when he talks about this kind of stuff, because this is supposed to just be a game where you sit down, roll some dice, and have fun. It's all fun for everybody. I'm not sure where this article is really coming from, because it screams to me right from the get-go, not everybody's having fun in your games. That's why it's here. Because not everybody is having fun. But the question is, why is that? Is it because they're gamers or they're trying to be gamers? Like, are they wannabe gamers or are they really gamers? I hate to put that distinction out there, but it is a distinction nonetheless. Alright. So a problem worth fixing. The topic of colonialism and fantasy gaming deserves far more discussion than our little monster book can bring to bear. The sidebars in this section dig in just a bit to the starting point of colonialist thought and its pervasiveness in the real world. But even those brief discussions aren't the actual point of us wanting to talk about an anti-colonial approach to monsters in this book. We want to have, I paraphrase that because I didn't want to give away the book title, you know. We want to have this discussion because being aware of and rejecting colonialist ideals in our fantasy role-playing games makes those games better. I'm not going to read the rest of that because I think the rest of that is not needed. That was the main sentence I've been wanting to read out of that point.
Yeah, and it sounds like whatever the rest of it is that you're not going to read is just sophistic BS. We get what he is going to say ultimately by what you just read, and I vehemently disagree.
Chris, do you think if I change my games, do you think they'd be better, or do you think they're good already, or do you think that they're great?
I think they're good as they are. I mean, you do a great job of creating a well fleshed out world.
This is why I wanted you here more than, well, not more than anyone. Excuse me. This is why I wanted you here more than anything, at least, because you are a player in my games.
Yeah, I mean, you
have a player review where Jake provides a logical standpoint and can actually see both sides of the story. As well as I'm the host. So we all have a massive part of why I've asked us all to be here today.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like I said, you create a good world. It's well fleshed out. It's got a lot of interesting aspects. I mean, heck, you listen to my dribble about, hey, what if we do this? What if we do this? And you either say that sounds interesting or shut up. I don't need you to tell me what to do.
Believe it or not, everything that you advise me on, Chris, or give advice on, I do copy down somewhere in a note. It's just I have notes. I just I create notes and I'm just formulating everything into a story later.
Yeah.
So you gotta be patient. A story is not easy to develop. It takes years and not time. God only knows how long it took Tolkien to write the freaking 4 books he wrote.
Well, I mean,
those are some long ventures.
Well, I mean, those stories all started out as just bedtime stories for his children. That's where it all. So that's how they all started out, and then he started flushing it out more and more.
Yeah. So I've watched the Tolkien movie where it was supposed to be about Tolkien and his life and what inspired the Lord of the Rings. And I've seen some if the movie I haven't read much of his history, but I have read some of it, and some of it the movie did touch on quite a bit actually and stayed true to that. And I thought that was kind of saddening, through some of the things, because he lost some friends. He's lost some he had a lot of loss in his life, especially his friends. But that's where he got the idea for the Fellowship, was his friends.
Yeah. I mean, I like to listen to history YouTube channels and everything like that. And one of one of the YouTube channels I listened to, he was going over, he was doing commentary on another history channel's history of the World War One, and he says that he made the comment of it said that World War Two was a war that mostly affected the civilians. World War One was mostly affecting the soldiers, and that is very true with what the soldiers in the trenches on the front lines, what they had to go through.
Oh, we will share that at the end of the stream. All right. So I just got your note, Jake. At the end of the stream, we will definitely promote him.
Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. All right, let's get to the next part. Let's talk about this little. So I don't really like sidebars a whole lot. I'm not big on it. But he did give the definition of colonialism, or an essay of colonialism, and the short version. Whereas colonialism is a topic far too broad to be properly summed up in this or any other short treatises. Oh, for God's sake. But in a nutshell, the history of our modern age has been defined by specific groups of people laying claim to the entire world over centuries of exploration, and not caring that the rest of the world had other people living in it at this time. The history of colonialism is a history of conflict and warfare, of groups clashing over control of wealth and natural resources, of one group of people raiding into and claiming lands not their own, and treating the lives and livelihood of folk living in those lands as plunder. Yeah, that's how you get pirates. And if any of the above sounds vaguely similar to any fantasy RPG you've ever played, you might get the sense of the problem. At this heart, every fantasy role-playing game tells a story. Okay, our stories take place in specific worlds and often explore a lot of the negative aspects of the worlds. And well, you can't have a positive, hippie-go-lucky world. We're not making the Garden of Eden, which is supposed to be paradise.
Yeah, I mean, even paradise didn't last for that long.
No, it didn't. All right, all heroes need evil to fight against, after all, but colonialism needs to be treated differently than many of the other negative aspects of our game narratives, because the harm of unexamined colonialism can hurt players and the people near them in very real ways. I'd like to point out that I think my game, and you guys can correct me if I'm wrong for saying this, I think my game does not fit in this category at all. Do I have colonialism play? By this definition, I am playing colonialism. So by this definition, I'm hurting my players. Am I understanding that correctly?
Who knows what the mental gymnastics that one comes up with to form this idea.
Right, okay. Because I would like to point out, I have this player who plays a orc named Greenie. And
That name sounds racist.
Well, if
Well,
it
I mean,
helps,
he-
I didn't come up with it. This is a 21-year-old something. The only thing. Okay, so Witch King did put this out. The only issue is that history is full of indigenous populations getting conquered by outsiders. It's not just due to the 17th to the 20th centuries. No, that is very true, but that's history.
That is history. It's human civilization altogether.
Right.
When two groups of different cultures meet each other, there's either two things that will happen. Is either they'll come together and they'll meld together, which that has happened in some rare situations, but 99.9% of the time, they destroy each other. One will destroy the other and will dominate over the other. That's just how human civilization has worked. It has not. The only time that has ever changed has been in the last century, when there's been a concerted effort to respect other peoples. It's an entirely new concept.
Very fair. Jake, do you have anything to add?
Honestly, no. I concur. I concur with not with what the person is writing. I concur with the counterpoint that you are bringing up, Table.
Okay. I mean, I'm just trying to see. I'm trying to see if what evidence does this article. I'm not going to say this person, because he may have a different belief from us, and we should accept that. We should accept that whether we like it or not. Because
I
that's part of
suppose we should.
acceptance.
Also, Table, I'm so sorry for interrupting. File Explorer has just crashed on my PC, and so I just have a black screen, and I cannot do anything about it. I am so very sorry, but I am going to have to manually restart my PC. I do not know if I will be back, because I think I'll have to boot in safe mode, because one of my hard drives is completely unresponsive. But thank you for having me on. I appreciate contributing.
Not a problem.
And I look forward to seeing the conclusions you ultimately come to, Table. So everyone be well. Everyone in the chat be well.
Not a problem. But if you do come back, make sure to jump back in.
Understood.
Yeah.
And take care, guys, and be well.
You too.
Yeah.
You too. Be well, Jake.
Good luck.
All right. Well, it's just you and me now. All right. So here we go.
You don't sound so depressed about it.
Oh my God! Don't start with me, Chris. All right. Let's get to this. Let's get to this next part. Monolithic think. Beware of monolithic thinking. This is another point I wanted to definitely touch on, because I think it takes jabs somewhere, and for something that is not supposed to take jabs, it's supposed to allow the jabs to be put away. Pretty hypocritical statement, I like to think. But let's dive into it. Maybe I'm wrong. You can tell me I'm wrong. Chat can tell me I'm wrong. I'll be happy to hear your points. So, though it's part of a much broader conversation about culture and fiction, the idea of monolithic culture and fantasy owes a lot of the world building of J.R.R. Tolkien and in The Lord of the Rings, which has a long provided a bedrock foundation for fantasy fiction and RPGs. Monolithic culture is the idea that all members of a particular ancestry share a consistent set of outlooks, ideals, and go to the other page, and behavior, to the point where any member of that an ancestry who doesn't show off their people's acknowledged traits might be treated as abnormal. Even in fiction, where the approach makes solid narrative sense and has benign intent, as with the elves and the dwarves of The Lord of the Rings, monolithic culture can only ever tell a single story, and the best fantasy RPG campaigns tell stories in multitudes. I don't agree with that. I think it takes a jab at Tolkien and calls so it says beware of monolithic thinking, and says that monolithic thinking is not necessarily the best part, because in Tolkien's universe, which this is actually false, because in Tolkien's universe, there was bad men. There was bad elves, there was bad dwarves, and there was bad orcs. Granted, we didn't see any good orcs, but there were still, it wasn't just orcs. And that's where I was thinking that he was going with that one. Of course, it was
as an example of bad men, they're all over the place in Tolkien, in Lord of the Rings and everything like that, because you have the men of the East,
yes,
who come in to help Sauron to wage war against Minas Tirith. You also have the oh god, now my mind also went blank. The inhabitants of it's Tolkien's version of Atlantis. I can't remember what. It's all of a sudden my mind just went, Numenor. No, wait, right? Numenor.
Yes, which King, I do agree with part of the article, because I am agreeing that no species is inherently or is completely entirely good or evil. That is what monolithic thing. That's not how they kind of portray it. I would like to point that out right now. That's if that's monolithic thinking, then that's possibly not how he portrays it here.
Here's how monolithic culture is described by simply a internet search. A monolithic culture refers to a society or civilization that revolves entirely around a single concept or activity. And the example it gives is a proud warrior race, which, I mean, history does does have examples of that. Like, for example, the Spartans, their entire culture revolved around their warrior class.
Right.
And so, yes, I going back real quick, the Numenorians, they used to be well blessed by uh, the gods of Lord of the Rings world until they tried to invade the Undying Lands, in which case they were punished, and that's because they were corrupted and manipulated by their own greed, their desire to find immortality, and by Sauron whispering into their king's ear for quite some time. So that's an example of humans being. That's like an example of like the epitome of humans in Lord of the Rings, the perfect humans in some sense, going bad.
Right. Let's move on to a point that they did put in here and part of the side thing, which is why I don't agree with this section entirely. Is because it's called othering. The earliest versions of D&D worked on the assumptions that the world of the game was one in which sophisticated humans and demi-humans, to use the parlance of original editions, elves, dwarves, gnomes, halflings, whatever, were locked into perpetual conflict with other peoples. Orcs and goblins, kobolds and lizard folks, hobgoblins, bugbears, and more were the evil enemy, to be fought alongside more monstrous foes such as dragons, aberrations, and undead. Well, you know, I like a good zombie story. Do you like a good zombie story?
Yeah, on occasion. Okay. I mean,
well, I like a good story about a necromancer. Overly... Don't you like a story about a good necromancer?
Good necromancer in the sense that they're good or that they're bad?
Oh, that they're so freaking bad and evil, they're well-developed story.
Well, I mean,
that's good necromancer.
Well, I mean, that's the thing, is that necromancy is normally seen as...
I'm sorry, I'm using the word good as a form of descriptor, like, this character is well-developed and good.
Yes.
All right.
Well, I mean, here's the thing, is that when it comes to, like, necromancer and everything like that, necromancers, zombies, stuff like that, that is normally depicted as evil because to try and resist the natural elements of existence, which is life and death, and pervert it the way that necromancers or zombies are, it's unnatural, it is evil, it is dark. So I mean, yes, having a good, well-developed necromancer who wants to create a never-ending army of the undead is a fun story.
I mean, not everybody or everything in the world is going to agree. I mean, that's just fact of the matter.
Well, yes. I mean, you have the necromancer who wants to rule them all, and everyone says no, and he says, okay, well, too bad. You're all going to die anyways.
Right. Well, he needs bodies. So, when one group of people, rather in our game worlds or in the real world, reduces another group of people to the status of default enemies, that process is called othering. So, basically, it's saying when you reduce an orc or the entire people, you're othering that species. I'd like to point out, and this is a huge effect on both game worlds and in the real world. I'd like to point out that the thing that I have a problem with this being here is that we are talking about a fictional world.
Yeah.
I don't see how that translates into real world as long as your brain can separate reality from fiction. I'm sorry, I don't see the need to take a real world situation and put it in a fictional world. The fictional world should have its own things. It should be its own living thing. Whether it's fake or real or whatever, it should have its own conflicts. It should have its own politics, however that works. In-game politics, worldly politics. It should have its own ways of farming and its own traditions and stuff like that. It should be a living thing. That doesn't mean that you're a racist because orcs are being treated different, but they've been accepted by human society. Or the elves don't want to care for orcs, so they want to break away from human society if they friend them over them. You know, that's just an internal in-world conflict that the GM just makes up to just tell a story, and you're just living out the story. I don't see how this hurts anybody. I don't see how this is why this belongs here.
I mean, that's the whole point of fantasy or imagination or creating another world, is because you are trying to get away from this world and go to one that's a little more fun.
But I feel like this article is telling us we take the real world and we put it in our game worlds, and I like to think that that's not true, because I'm going to say this right now: Paramore was never inspired from anything in the real world.
Well, I mean, there's a difference between being inspired and just copying and pasting.
I'd like to point out, in the Zothique stories by Clark Ashton, Ashton Smith the undead have their souls trapped in their corpses, unable to do anything unless the necromancers make a mistake. Isn't that also like where they kind of got inspired to do, Caro, or Caro from Caro? Oh God, the guy from Journey Quest, who was a good cleric and then became undead, and then he struggles with moral conundrums within himself.
Wasn't that those videos that we were watching that one time?
A while back, yes.
Okay.
As the name suggests, othering is about defining defining differences between ourselves and other people that allow us to eventually view those people as wholly different from ourselves, as less than us, deserving only the contempt and violence, as sometimes not even people at all.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I don't know how to tackle that without being a dick. I'm not even gonna lie. So basically, the way I guess I have my in-world politics, dwarves have their kingdoms, elves have their kingdoms, the humans have theirs, and then every other species I've othered out because they're lesser. Like, I just wanted to write a good story. I don't know, Chris. I need your expertise on this, my good friend.
I mean, it doesn't. Oh, jeez. I'm just trying to think of how to come at this myself, because it's just kind of boggling the mind. Because in your world, the whole reason why the orcs are the way they are is because of their culture, their mentality, the god that they worship, which is a god that thrives on what would be considered dark.
Hey, I just want to let everyone know, the orcs have a god, and he's not treated any different.
No. In fact, actually, he's
and he too is an orc.
He's feared.
Yeah.
And so I mean, that's not really othering. That's just who they are.
Okay.
It's their culture. It's who they are. It's their identity.
But did I reduce them to that?
No.
Okay.
It's part of what they are. I don't really know how else to say it. It's who they are.
It's good. I think this guy. I will say this article has a very good argument to start with. It's kind of started off weak, but I guess kind of leading to this, I have to say, I will have to say it's the ideology behind it is, I guess, a good countermeasure. However, I come from a time to where you had to separate, and you did too, and I'm pretty sure Witch King has as well. Anyone younger than us, I'm not sure. That means Toby's out. We come from a time to where where we can separate fact and fiction, because we have to. We grew up like this. But
yeah.
I've always asked myself, is what I'm doing to these characters hurting my players, because my players really love playing these characters. But the whole idea of you guys having these characters is only attach yourselves to them in such a way where you're just acting and you know it, you know? This sounds like people get really attached to their characters, and this doesn't sound like anything I'm going to go with regardless. On a neutrality standpoint, or a logical standpoint, I think this guy does have a pretty good article here. I don't think it belongs in this book, though, given what this book is.
Well, I mean, that's going back to what you said about like people getting attached to their characters. There's a lot of instances on where you can see a lot of people get so emotionally, mentally attached to something, a character from a TV show or from a book or whatever, or in a game, that if that individual, because it may not be a well-developed character, or there may be something about the character that doesn't go a certain way, or shipping or whatever, then it's almost as if for the individual who is attached, it's almost as if they take offense of it, and because they see that as an attack on themselves. And I think that's a bit that needs to stop. Because it creates too much drama.
Yeah. I'm gonna say I think I'm not gonna read the rest of this article. I'm gonna tell you why. One, because we're kind of reading out loud, and this person did take enough time to put it in his book, and I don't want to ruin it for anyone else, because that's not what we're here to do. We're just here to talk about this concept, because this concept is hitting the gaming community in such a way it's either pissing people off, or, well, I mean, either it's pissing people off to the point it's pissing other people off, or, well, I mean, that's pretty much just it, actually. I don't, like, there's only very few people I see that's happy about this and going, yes, finally they have some article that explains that what the original gamers of D&D have been doing for years is complete shit. That's how it basically, I'm basically taking this. And it's pissed off the veteran gamers, or the original OG gamers, like, you know, me, maybe Witch King, whatnot, going, hey, you know how you've been running games? It's bad. You should do it like this. But
and it's annoying the people who are fresh and new to tabletop role playing, and they want to respect what came before.
That's because they're listening to two different sides and they don't know which side is right.
Well, I mean, there's those
they want to
that
pick a right side, but
because
they're too young into the industry to know if there's really a right or wrong side to gaming.
Yes.
I remember.
What I'm saying is that like there are those who will want to respect what came before, and then they're getting this told to them.
Right. Well, you know, but then a lot of people, you know, I've heard like some people are being told, well, there's a right way to play a game and there's a wrong way to play a game. And it's like, no, there's not. There's just choices. Yes, you have conflicts and outcomes, but that's just life. Like, you know, you have an you have cause and effect, which
that's kind of funny because people who support things like this article, they want that dreamy romantic aspect, but then they also want it to be more anchored in the real world. But that is part of the real world, is that whole cause and effect. Bad stuff just happens. There are bad people out there. There is actual evil out there, so on and so forth.
Right. I mean, if you want to go into a world where there's no evil, I mean, guess more power to you. But as far as me, and as a gamer, I don't want that. You know, I want there to be a problem and stuff like that. I want to be able to get gold. Like they said, yeah, we use this as a way to tell a story. You know, like Jake even said, you know, you level up your character, gain XP, We think it's fun. Is that a colonialism way of thinking about it or an anti-colonialism way of thinking about it? How about this? It's a game. It's called fantasy. Are these same people playing Final Fantasy right now? Do you feel bad for killing that squirrel?
How dare you?
They had squirrels in Final Fantasy, man. I play the game too. So, but when you play that game, do you feel bad for killing that squirrel in that game while writing an article like this? That's just the question. And I've got the Ultra American TGRPGer cracking up because he says, "Jesus Christ!"
And that squirrel's child has come back for revenge. Oh, in that one game.
Wasn't that in Baldur's Gate 3 too? I don't know. I've never played Baldur's Gate. Yeah, I think I'm going to buy Baldur's Gate now. I mean, think about this. You want us to come up like with sentient creatures at the very least. Because I don't know how the hell you're going to befriend someone that's not sentient, because goblins, I'm sorry, they have low intelligence anyway. Does that make them any less sentient? Not really. It just kind of makes them kind of basic. I mean, a shark could be considered a sentient creature, but a shark has only got three. The brain is so small. Scientists have discerned that it only has 3 basic motivations, and that's it. That's the only big thought process of a shark. And that's.
I've always taken sentience as being self-aware, like being able.
Well, we haven't discerned if certain animals are not self-aware.
I think, therefore, I am. Well, I mean, you, like, for example, I think one of the tests of sentience or something of that nature is being able to look in a mirror and notice that you see yourself. And so, for example, dolphins and elephants, they can look in a mirror and they know that that's them in the mirror. And I would consider dolphins and elephants maybe as semi-sentient in a sense.
Even though supposedly they're said to be the most intelligent creatures on the planet, which is crazy.
After humans, after all.
Yeah, they don't say it like that, but regardless of belief, Chris, that's not what we're here for. Wasps can be sentient doesn't mean they deserve to live. No, because a wasp would look at you and go, "I gotta sting you." Is that evil way of looking at it or a bad way? Well, here's the thing. How about this part? You're trying to stay out of jail, and this is from Dear Stalker Pictures. 3 characters are trying to stay out of jail, but they keep hurting people, and they're not smart enough to know what really highway robbery is. So, are they the bad guys? Are they intelligent enough to know that they're the bad guys?
I don't know.
I think if you are intelligent enough to realize to ask the question that you're the bad guys, you're well enough to know that you are the bad guy or you're sentient. I'm sorry. So
you mean like the video of the National Socialist German National Socialist character saying, "Are we the bad guys?"
Oh my God! It's the meme. XD. Are we the baddies? Yes. Hans, are we the baddies? I think so. I think so. I don't know. Here's what I'm gonna say. Here's the real reason why I decided to do this video tonight. One, I wanted to touch base on 3 major points from that article because I thought maybe it was a little drawn out. I mean, that's like 5 pages right there. We literally siphoned through 5 page. Well, it's 3 pages, but it's like front and back, so it's like 5 pages. It goes from page 119 to 123. And then 124 starts the new one. So let's see, 19, 20, 21, 2, 3. Yeah, that's like 5 pages. I think that's a little drawn out and preachy. I mean, it came in on a strong, big ass point of, bam, here, I'm going to throw this in your guys' face. I'm here to advise you guys how to play good games, or make good games, or make your games better. Well, buddy.
I mean, kind of starts out again with the whole what I said back about putting a pin in this topic is this guy is coming in saying this is how to make things better, or I don't want to try and tell people how to make things better, but this is how you do make things better. And it's just it's saying one thing and then doing another.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. So, before we skedaddle off here, I do want to hit a couple major points. What inspired me to do this was this fellow right here. He does not know it, so was this fellow right here, Jack, Chronicler of the North Winds. Now you guys see my page covered up.
Yeah, they can see me.
Yeah, I can bring it in a little bit because we don't need to see who I follow. This guy right here, because he reminds me of an old style of me who is still currently here. I'm playing the game right now, so I don't know why I'm saying old style for. Maybe that's a bit... How do I put it? I think I have a like mind with this fellow here, and I became a big fan of his when I saw a debate. And I've actually been going through some of his stuff on here. I haven't gone through the safety tools yet, because the safety tools is not for me. If you have to have safety tools to play a game, and the safety tools is if you're offended, put up an X to stop and explain why I can't put you through that situation, what's going on, what kind of conflicts you're having. Here's the thing: if you got to do that, I don't think my table is the table for you. I'm gonna put it out there, and I hate to be that guy to put it out there, but here it is.
Boy.
But you need to know. I mean, it's the disclaimer. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not gonna try and cater a campaign to one person. That is I'm running a campaign with 9 people. One person may like, the other 8 may hate. Or 10 even.
I mean, in this last campaign that you ran, where it in the World of Darkness, I came out of that just kind of slightly depressed and annoyed because, like, I died, and well, not just I died, but everyone died so quickly.
So, actually, that was 2 sessions, about 2 hours apiece.
Yeah.
That was 4 hours. That was only supposed to be a one-shot. What do you think was going to happen afterwards?
I know.
Okay. I don't know either. So, you know what's funny? I was playing with my cousins the other day, and we were playing Vampire the Requiem, and there was a character, my old, is it my oldest cousin? Well, he's like 25, 26. But him and his younger brother was over, and he got basically split down the middle. There was this Grangel vampire that literally grew claws out of his fingers and started, like, slashing him to bits. And he's like, oh, he yelled to his brother, like, dude, get your character in here to help me. I'm dying. I'm getting my ass kicked. Because suddenly, if you have ever seen, what is it, Shattered or something like that, or Splintered with James McAvoy, where he becomes the Beast, it's like he started transforming into this monstrous character. It's actually an ability that this clan of vampires have, and then just started kicking his ass. And then at the end, he literally ripped him apart and threw chunks of him at his brother's car.
Oh, jeez.
He's like, I died. And chunks of me got thrown at you. He's like, yeah, where'd your head land? I said, oh, his head landed right on the windshield. And right there on the windshield is his brother's head. And he just says, okay, I gotta turn on the windshield wipers. Let me see if I can squirt it.
It would have been hilarious if it smashed through the window and landed in his lap.
Well, he had dents in a nice, expensive car. But see, that's what gaming's about. It's about having fun, you know? And I guess maybe that's a little too violent, but then, okay, go play, like, less violent games if you want. But I'm not going to change my style to cater to other people. This is my style. If you like my style and you want to be at my table, a chair's open to you.
You're more than welcome to join us. Right. It's a lot of fun.
Exactly. But if I'm not your style, then maybe you need to move along to somebody else. And I'm willing to take that hit for that, even on my channel, just for the simple fact that I'm not here for all of this. This just sounds like a whole bunch of drama all in one thing. It's like, we're just here to tell a story and roll some dice. Keep the ideology away. Yeah. I ran an X-Men Shadow Dark one-shot where the players fought a St. Nicholas. Oh my god, that was a good... Damn, I wish I would have came up with that one. What did I run for Christmas? Oh, Cyberpunk, that's right.
Yep, where you had, what was it?
And y'all died there too.
I was not a part of that.
Oh, no, that's right.
I worked too much.
Yeah, that's right, you did. That sucked, dude. Well, everybody died anyway. But nobody cried at the end of the day. They thought that was freaking hilarious. So.
Yeah, what can you do?
Robot Santa from Futurama. That's basically what I did, except Santa Claus was a program that was transmitting into their... It was basically St. Nicholas if St. Nicholas was Skynet. And they were... and Biodyne was... I basically took ideas from the Osiris chip, the old adventure of the Osiris chip, and then got some ideas from other places and then just weaved it into a story. So they were, so this corporation was handing out free cyber tech, but making sure that you had the special chip that was communicating with Saint Nick, and it was giving you the Saint Nick programming. One person died because his mind did not. It was like the Matrix. His mind was rejecting the program, and he died over it.
It almost sounds like, oh god, I'm trying to remember the one episode from Doctor Who where they go to the alternate universe in the second season of New Who, and the Cybermen. Yeah, the alternate universe Cybermen, and everyone has the Bluetooth earbuds in, and
actually I took it from there.
Oh, nice.
yeah, that was part of my inspiration for it.
Yeah, and everyone gets the download and everything, and it eventually takes over their minds because that's how the Cybermen are controlling everyone.
Yeah. Except this Saint Nick was supposed to keep cyber psychos under control, but under the control of the corporation.
Evil.
Mind-slaved zombies. Haha. Yeah, that sounds like fun, doesn't it?
There is an example of being evil.
No, this is a sample of me telling a good story. It's the characters I use that are evil.
Oh, no, that's what I'm saying, is that there's an example of someone being evil, trying to take control of other people's minds.
Oh, yeah. Alright, real quick before we leave, let's see here. Alright, well, if you guys are not liked and subscribed to my channel, please like and subscribe. I think we are going to call this a wrap-up. What do you think, Chris? Should we go through a little bit more, or do you think we've read enough and discussed enough on these points of the article?
I'm here to do whatever you like. If you want to continue, we can continue. If you want to end it, we can end it.
Well, let me
I
see if
think the point has. I think the point has been made is that this is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. Like I said, he had a 5-page article, and we only got through. Believe it or not, we did skip a little bit just to get through like the parts that we did in like 2 hours. Damn, that is just too long. He did make we did read all that. So we reread 119 and 120. After that, I kind of think he just basically goes into some ideas of how you can adapt your world to this. And you know what, you guys want to read that, you guys can go check it out. He's on drivethrurpg.com. Go ahead and pick up the book. I think there is, like, if you guys, like, if for some of you guys are trying to waver if you guys should get it or not, because that article's in there, let me at least bring up some good points about this book. There is the monster toolkit, and there is tips and tricks of how to build monsters for 5e. That goes on from page 1 all the way to page 100. After that, that's where we kind of get into that philosophical debate. So, I mean, out of 130 page, you're only losing 30 pages out of your money. So, I'm sorry to say, but that's kind of what that is. And really, out of those 30 pages, I mean, there's this, for God's sake. I've got to share this part. there's this, and we've got to talk about this because this was going to be another stream I was going to bring up, but we're going to bring this up right now. I'm going to bring this up right now because this was going to be another stream. This is something I see. I didn't know if it was part of the same thing. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Let's talk about that for a second.
Oh, geez.
We are not even going to read this. We're not going to read this at all because what Medusa and an incubi or two goblins or two orcs, maybe not even that. Like, let's go with what two unicorns or two bears are doing in the woods. Not my business. Nor is that even going to be explicitly mentioned in any of my campaigns or any of my sessions. That is not... I'm sorry. I'm going to say I don't know what the fuck this is all about, and I'm not reading it. But this is... Zoom in on the snake person. You'll see what resembles top surgery scars.
Oh.
Hang on. Let me make sure that this is okay to put on YouTube. Well, I don't think it's bad. But yeah, there we go.
Oh,
Look at
boy.
this. Consent. So that's another 2 pages. So you're gonna be losing on 32 pages. I think that was part of the 30 pages, actually. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think that was necessary. Oh, Abra's in here. I don't know if you knew that he joined the stream.
Don't know either.
Me neither. I don't know. I haven't seen him in a long time. He was a guy from oh, now he's out.
And goodbye. Well,
Here,
there
jumped in
was
on-
that guy.
Yep. Friend of mine. He was from my previous games. But anyway, as I was saying, what two monsters are doing behind the scenes is none of my business, and I'm not telling that story.
Yeah, I mean, if you want
That
to
section
say,
was
hey,
completely uncalled for.
I mean, if you want to say, hey, I'm doing this with this character, then just say, yeah, go ahead.
No. But it's doing it with a monster.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, is that if they want to do it, okay, fine, sure, whatever. Just
I'm pretty much sure I was going to seduce the owl bear. Really? I'm sorry. They're... Part of the monsters are kind of beasts. That just, I think, to me, performs.
It gets into the realm of.
Well, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe he also needed that to counteract the articles to make sure his book sells. Oh man, I took a jab. Lazy
Oh,
DM,
boy.
I am sorry. I wasn't trying to do that, but yeah. Roll to seduce. Flip a coin to see if the top or bottom, then fade into black to see if they live or die after. Yeah. I don't know. I'm highlighting some good things about that book. There is a good section within the first 100 pages. I'm sorry that, I can't mention any more than that. But
Next, there'll be something talking about how to perform the deed with the beast or monster.
No, God, no. Or if you're playing Wretched, roll to see what STD they get from the monster. Yeah, that's what we're gonna do.
Oh boy.
Oh yeah. Wait, do you have resistance towards disease? Oh, I'm not just kidding. Anyway, we're not gonna.
So that's how that disease spread, and it jumped
Oh,
species.
Lord. Well, maybe good starting point for a plague.
Maybe.
Maybe. I'm evil. We gotta stop. All right. I gotta get back on my leash a little bit because
I now have horrible things playing through my head about certain groups.
Medusa AIDS.
Oh no.
Well, for those who do like my content, please like and subscribe. I will not apologize if I offend anybody. I mean, if you come here, I did put a warning label up telling you what we were here for. So if you're offended by me, I got nothing to say about it. Sadly, that's as much as an apology anyone's gonna get out of me.
And just
sorry, not sorry. LOL. Yes, exactly. Yeah,
and
unfortunately,
none of us are the ones who are spreading dragonpox.
Yeah, okay. About that. Anyway. Well, Chris, what's next for you? Anything?
We'll be playing Castle Crusades this Friday, correct?
Yes. I actually have a couple things coming up, which I'm not going to announce yet. I may announce either tomorrow night or Thursday night. We might come back for another stream because we actually skipped a stream. I had a family emergency going on. I had to go rescue some people. So they're rescued. They came over. We had fun.
It was a harrowing journey of love, loss, and the renewal of friendships.
That no, it was not Star Wars. At the most thing that sounds like Disney Star Wars, and it wasn't that either. So, all right. So from there, we are going to say, all right. So what I got coming up next, I got Castle and Crusades. Hopefully, I'll have everything figured out by then. I will have Castle and Crusades on Friday night, starting at 6 p.m. And for those who are new to my channel, please come check me out. Please like and subscribe. I am trying to reach 500 subscribers before the end of the year. I am exactly 192 people away from having that. So please come like and subscribe to my streams because we will have more fun. We're going to try and get away from less topics, but like I said, this is my Unleashed show. This is the anything that's mentioned that's hardcore where I'm voicing my opinion will be named Unleashed. So if you don't like that content, you don't have to like it, but I am trying to still spread, goodness to everybody, but what, in the spirit of gaming, we are going to continue to do what we do best, and that is to have you guys make characters, bring them in, tell a good story, and if your character dies, your character dies. I'm not going to say, and I'm not going to apologize for it, so there you go. That's the kindest words anyone's ever going to get from anybody of my stature. Sorry. Everyone else is like, well, that's the way the game's played.
Yeah.
I'm trying to be nice about it, but you can tell it's pretty stressed out, can't you, Chris?
Yeah. No,
so
I mean, hey, you're a fun guy to be around. So
I try to be.
It's
not all
definitely
about
fun.
I
fun
can't
to
be serious
in
all the time.
games and everything.
Oh yeah, can't be serious all the time. All right, remember everybody to work hard, play hard, game hard. As always, game on. You guys have a great and wonderful week, and I will see you guys probably in a few nights or so. Have a good one, and here is a nice outro for you. I don't think I like that one. This one's better. Not that one.
Why don't you shut up?
You shut up.